Welcome to the Cards Central Postgame show on STL Sports Central. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Ethan Hannaford, Stefan Caray here with you. And I don't know if we've seen a more dominant series than this one out of the Cardinals. They sweep the Guardians in Cleveland. It's the first time in franchise history they've swept either the Indians, the Guardians, the Spiders, whoever it is, from a team in Cleveland. And the Cardinals, just took care of business. Bookend shutouts in Game 1 and Game 3, a comeback victory in Game 2. This is the type of series that lowers your blood pressure. I was not sitting in bed or on the couch thinking, man, oh man, this team's frustrating me. I was excited, and I'm very excited for this upcoming series in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, just about everything that you could want in a series from a dominating sense happened in these three games in Cleveland, Ohio. The Cardinals getting their 9th and 10th shutouts of the year. We saw pitching dominance. We saw fighting back and dealing with adversity in Game 2. And once again today, more dominance, more firepower. This Cardinals team is just doing a little bit of everything right now. And people should be excited after one like this. At this point of the year, we're in the latter part of June. Every game just feels a little bit more important, right? Because everything is leading up to the trade deadline. And a handful of games could completely change the trajectory of where your season is heading. So in a series like this against a Guardians team that's around 500, they're a solid week away from being right back in the mix. It means something, and the fans should be excited. We got all kinds of brooms in the comments. Be sure to be throwing your thoughts on this afternoon's game, the series as a whole, where the Cardinals are at right now. We want you guys to be just as much a part of this show as Stefan and I are. Excellent job overall from the Cardinals, and Real American Intelligence saying here, great response after finishing with a dud against the Cubbies. Couldn't agree more. We talked about mentioned the adversity they fought back from in Game 2, but overall, just them responding the way that they did after leaving St. Louis with that sour taste in their mouth. Very encouraging sign. We know all about the Youngry. We know all about the energy that this team plays with. They once again showed it this weekend.
Well, and the main concern in the final two games of the series against the Cubs was scoring. They did that in spades against the Guardians. Again, today, finding a way to score a touchdown against the Guardians. Not the Browns, scoring a touchdown against the Guardians. 7 runs. It all started with Nolan Gorman hitting a hanging breaking ball over the middle of the plate with 2 outs in the top of the first inning. He has looked really, really good of late. And to do it against lefties, that's something you want to see. Both guys, Victor Scott, Nolan Gorman, guys that you want to see getting going, they had a nice series for themselves.
Yeah, they did. Like you said, especially against lefties, it's encouraging to see them continue to move in the right direction. On 365 this morning, me and Brendan and I were discussing how we've seen Nolan Gorman continue to grow and develop this year. And it's not to say that the strikeouts have entirely disappeared, right? That still is a part of his game. Even with the adjustments that he has made, he is still going to strike out a decent chunk of the time. That's what happens when you have the power. That's his game, right? But it's not the 35% of the time, which is encouraging. But what I mentioned to him is he just looks so much more comfortable at the plate. It felt like there was a magnifying glass on him throughout the first couple of months of the season because his at-bats were so limited. If he had a game where he went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts or 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts, it felt like he was sitting on that for 2-3 days before he was getting another opportunity at the plate. That doesn't feel like it's the case right now. Struck out a couple of times today. Maybe it was just once. He struck out at least once today, but you're not even thinking about that because he contributes the 3-run home run in the first inning, which was a moonshot, I might add. 110 off the bat, 428 feet. And like you said, off a lefty. A pitch that was just left hanging, and he did what power guys are supposed to do with it. So it's encouraging to see him, not feel like he's in nearly as much of this mental head case as he probably was early in the year. Looks way more comfortable at the plate, and I'm impressed with what I've seen from Nolan Gorman, and I'm glad that they're finding opportunities for him to get ABs while Jordan Walker, while Ivan Herrera are on the IL. Eventually, that will be a whole nother issue, is figuring out how to give everyone ABs. But right now, Nolan Gorman taking advantage of the opportunity in a time where the Cardinals have needed it, right? I got some information here on the power because he's not the only one that has ticked up the power, helped tick up the power numbers here, Stefan, as of recent. But when you look back to June 17th, prior to then, the Cardinals were 24th in baseball, 68 home runs on the year. Since then, they've hit 19th and are tied for top 5 in baseball. Now, Gorman only has 2 since that point. Burleson leads the team with 5. Nootbaar has 3. Several guys have 2, including Arenado, Donovan, Contreras. Then a couple of guys have 1 as well. But to see them incorporate the power a little bit more here as of late has gone a long way. And I like to think that even if he only has 2 home runs since that point, having a guy like Nolan Gorman in there does play a part, right? Because it changes just how you face a lineup when there is the threat of power and how you pitch different guys around him. I'm not saying that Nolan Gorman is this big intimidating figure right now, but we know that when you have power in a lineup, when you have a little bit of intimidation, completely changes how you go about it from a pitcher's perspective. And I think that you could argue that maybe that's been a point of emphasis for opposing pitching when they're game planning, saying, hey, we got to be careful for this guy, got to be careful for this guy. All of a sudden, you're forcing strikes in against someone else, and bam, Alec Burleson has 5 home runs. Bam, Naj Nootbaar has 3 home runs. So you like the uptick in the power that we've seen as of late. Hopefully that continues. I don't think this Cardinals team is going to finish the year from June 17th out top 5 in the league in home runs, but it definitely goes a long way when you're able to add that part to your game.
Every swing that leads to balls out of the ballpark leads to confidence for your young core, which is something that we're seeing with the Cardinals. They're now 9 games above 500. And today it felt like a game where the Cardinals put their hand out with the game in the palm and said, come and take it, Guardians. Take it. Take it.
Yes.
There were so many opportunities, up 3-0, where the Guardians could have made it a game. They had early base runners. They were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They left 10 men on base. They lost by 7. And then finally, the Cardinals break through for some add-on runs in the 7th and 8th innings, a 2-run home run from Victor Scott. You see some ABC baseball in the 8th inning. That's the style of baseball that we've grown accustomed to with the Cardinals, is that they're going to manufacture runs, but also adding the long ball. There are very few weaknesses in this offense right now, and Brant Brown has found such a good strategy or such a good rhythm in this team in how to get them prepared for each and every series. And now that you've swept the Guardians, I talked about it with Joe Roderick, there's less pressure to go and sweep the Pirates, but it's possible. You could realistically go 6-0 on this part of the road trip. You could go 6-0 on this part of the road trip, and who knows how that's going to play out. But you look at Chicago looming, this is a very good start for how you'd like things to go if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, absolutely. It puts yourself in a situation, right, to, even though, right, that sour taste is gone for the moment after a sweep, I have no doubt that, the guys are going to be going into that 4th of July weekend series at Wrigley, remembering how they dropped those last couple of games, and that is going to be motivation going in. You set yourself up well with the way you've played these last 3 games, and if you're able to, the expectation obviously is to win the series against the Pirates. If you are able to at least win 2, then you put yourself in a good position to be right back in there around, 2 to 3 games out. And, by series end, if you are able to walk away with a series win against the Cubs, which is not going to be an easy task on a holiday weekend at Wrigley Field, there will be 40,000 fans there at least every day. That's going to be a tough task, but you put yourself in a position, right, if you play good baseball next weekend, to be neck and neck in the series with the Cubs and potentially the Brewers as well.
And right now, you get 2 teams, the Cubs and the Brewers, who just aren't going on losing streaks. The Cardinals have had theirs. They had theirs at the beginning of the month. The Cubs didn't play their best in the middle stages of June, but they're still not the type of team that's going to go and lose 5 or 6 in a row. The Pirates right now beating up on the Mets. The Cardinals now 500 on the road, if you can believe it. That was a huge point of conversation for us at the beginning of the year, just the inability to win on the road. They've been torrid on the road over the past few weeks. This is something that if you're a Cardinals fan, you're taking a look at. Look at the starting pitcher slate for St. Louis upcoming against the Pirates. You have Fetty, you have Palante, you have Sonny Gray set to go. versus the Pirates, you're not going to have your 1 or your 2. I guess Matthew Liberatore will be your 2, and he will feature against the Cubs. You're not going to have Sonny Gray yet again against the Cubs. Would you consider maybe pushing him back off that start? I know he's such a creature of habit and had one of his best starts of the year, or maybe definitely his best start of the year. Would you consider pushing him back and maybe letting him start game 1 against the Cubs at Wrigley?
That's a good question. Could we potentially see it? I mean, it won't be, my thought is, would you be able to use McGreevy as that spot start? And I don't think that you'd be able to, because it wouldn't have been 2 weeks or 15 days, whatever it is, since the last time that you came out so that he was started. So you'd have to be using someone on short rest. I would be surprised if they did. Now, that's not what you asked me. You asked me if I would. Because Sonny Gray is such a creature of habit, I don't know if I mess with it. I understand the thought and the reasoning behind it, but for the same reason that they didn't use Sonny Gray against Chicago at home, they don't. I'd be surprised if they use him. They maneuver things to put him in that start as well. I don't know. Things work out so well when you have Sonny Gray in his rhythm. You're going to have to force someone else to go on short rest. If you do use Sonny Gray, this is a long stretch of baseball. Everyone is already tired as is. I probably lean against it, even though I think, like, the fan in me, that's riding the emotion, says you have to have your best pitchers going against the Cubbies. But it's going to be, I think that it puts you in too difficult of a spot in that final game against the Pirates, unless you want Steven Matz to spot start, but then that limits him for how you're able to use him for that entire Cubs series. Without Michael McGreevy, I don't know how they make that work. It feels like a really tough spot to me.
Well, and I have an idea I want to throw by you, but first let's mention that all content here on STL Sports Central is provided by DraftKings, and baseball season is officially underway. If you didn't already notice, it's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, one thing we haven't seen from the Cardinals this year is a bullpen day, and that was sort of what I was alluding to in Game 3 against the Pirates. The reason why I say it, and this is totally to play devil's advocate, I don't think they're going to do this, but it affords you the opportunity to push Sonny Gray back, and it gives you a built-in off day the next day. You have that off day. It's the 3rd off day of the month, I believe, for the Cardinals. You take into consideration one of the days off via a postponement that ended up being a doubleheader earlier this month. That would give you a chance to get Sonny Gray starting game number 1 on July 4th. Your biggest pitch, your best pitcher in the biggest moment on the biggest day, the brightest stage against your biggest rival. To me, I mean, it's worth at least thinking about with how well he's pitched his last couple times on the mound.
He has looked very good as of late. I do understand the argument for that reason. You know, this Cubs Cardinals at Wrigley, it feels like it's about as must win up to this point in the season as you can get. The question becomes, like, all of a sudden, what if you are in a series split going into Game 3 and now you're relying on a tired bullpen? Now, like you said, they're going into an off day the next day, so that does play a part in it. Boy, what would be worse than not having Sonny Gray against the Cubs is losing a series against the Pirates when you're in a split and then you have a bullpen start and all of a sudden, you know, things turn on their head. That would be worst case scenario. I understand the argument. I get it. But I think that Steven Matz as a primetime lefty has been too important to the bullpen to say, okay, we're going to throw him for 3 innings, and all of a sudden he's out for the first couple of games against the Cubs. Puts you in a tough spot. You're weighing the consequences of having no Steven Matz for at least a couple of games probably of that series compared to not using Sonny Gray in that series. Pick your poison. You're in a tough spot either way.
I agree with your point. You've got Andrew Heaney versus Eric Fetty in game number 1 of this series. That's going to be a big start for Fetty, who's looking to bounce back, did not look very good in his last start. So he hopefully will bounce back against the Pirates. Before we get into this series a little bit more, I want to say how cool it was today for those who are watching on TV to get to watch Tom Hamilton working with Brad Thompson. Tom Hamilton, one of the premier broadcasting voices in this industry, a really good person, a really, really talented broadcaster that calls the game the right way. And for him to be inducted into Cooperstown for the Ford C. Frick Award, it's long overdue. And I just wanted to express how much of a treat it was to get to listen to him. Because sometimes when you have those Roku broadcasts, there's the mentality, hey, this is our only option. We've got to watch this way. This was a great option. This was a real treat and a luxury to get to listen to him call this game.
Yeah, we're spoiled here in St. Louis getting that Caray guy that broadcasts all the games.
I agree.
Tom Hamilton was excellent, and it's nice to mix it up and hear someone new and hear a different perspective. 2 of the 3 broadcasters were with Cleveland, so you were able to learn a little bit about their side and what they're going through right now, and just where their team is at right now. I enjoy that to mix it up on the occasion, but like I said, we're pretty spoiled here in St. Louis with our talented broadcasting, and as is Cleveland, no doubt about that.
Well, the Pirates are a team that certainly are going to make you work for some wins. You take a look at how they've been playing of late. They have taken care of business against the Mets. Last time I checked the score, it was 6-0, and they had runners in scoring position. I'm going to take a peek and see how it looks right now. It's 8-1 going into the bottom of the 6th inning. The Pirates are surging a bit. I know the Mets have certainly struggled over their last few games. The Mets are 3-7 in their last 10. The Pirates are currently 5-5 in their last 10. They've won back-to-back games, have a chance to sweep the Mets at home. So this is a team that's coming in with a lot of confidence, and I'm not going to say it's a trap series because it's in division. It's not like you're playing the Rockies or the White Sox. You're playing the Pirates, who are going to make you work. They have good pitching. They certainly have good offense. They've been the thorn in the side of the Cardinals many times before, and they'll be the thorn in the side of the Cardinals many times again in the future. We just hope it isn't the next few days.
Yeah, and you're going to have to see some good pitching, as you mentioned. Fetty versus Heaney coming up tomorrow, and then Tuesday, Andre Palante versus Paul Skeens. So, it's not going to get any easier. And then on Wednesday, Sonny Gray versus Mitch Keller. That'll be a fun one. Check this. Mitch Keller is 2-10 with a 3.9 ERA. So similar to Cleveland, the problem is not the pitching for the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is the bats. So let's hope that you can get good quality pitching once again this series, and that you can set yourself up for another series win. Speaking of pitching, Stefan, Matthew Liberatore today, I know he had the 5 walks, 2 of them coming in that last inning, got squeezed on one of those calls. But overall, Libby, another solid outing. That's back-to-back outings where he's looked a little bit more like himself. 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. A lot of good stuff from Matthew Liberatore today. And I think what was the most impressive part for me was how he responded after the first inning. He's able to get through without without allowing any runs, but there was some traffic on the bases. 26 pitches in that first inning. From the 2nd to the 6th inning, averaged 11 pitches per inning. Very efficient today in large part. Didn't have the velo. The velo touched 95, I think, 3 or 4 times on the fastball today. Consistently, normally, as of late, even since the velo has taken its dip, he will start off in the 95, 96 range. That was not the case today. So the velo down a little bit today, but that he did not let that affect him in large part. Still was able to work through that and looked mighty sharp and very efficient today, Matthew Liberatore was.
That's exactly what the front office and the coaching staff of the Cardinals wants to see. If he struggles, how does he pull himself out of it? Early in the game, pitch count was starting to rack up, and the breaking ball was not there. It wasn't there. He wasn't dropping in the curveball. The slider wasn't really working the way that you'd like to see from him. Now you have him a little bit more dialed than he was a few starts ago at the beginning of this month. He's back to where you'd like him to be. And going to your point about the Pirates, yes, they don't score. But again, the Cardinals have played a lot of teams that haven't been able to score, and they've scored. The Cardinals averaged 7 runs per game in this series, 21 runs. I'm glad there's no off day tomorrow. I'm glad they can continue the momentum, play tomorrow, continue to get their bats going. Heaney is a lefty. They have typically struggled against lefties. We'll see how the lineup shakes out. We hope Thomas Sajaci can get it going offensively, because I don't think he's recorded a hit since being back up in the major leagues. Some time down. Looked great for him in AAA. Now he's struggling a little bit at the major league level. And it's all going to be very well known what the Cardinals are going to bring to the table tomorrow at PNC Park.
There was a couple of questions about injuries updates on Nolan Arenado. He left the game for precautionary reasons. I haven't seen specifically what was bugging him. It looked like he did land on first base, beating out that single in the ball game a little bit awkwardly, was rounding second to third a little gingerly. But from what I have seen, I have not heard or seen what specifically it was that was bugging him. So, but it was for precautionary reasons. So that is the good thing. Hopefully Nolan Arenado is good to roll tomorrow, but it doesn't look like this is going to be like a long-term thing or anything, which is a sigh of relief, because one, Nolan Arenado has been hitting the ball really well as of late. The defense is as good as it always is. And especially in a time when you're short on right-handed hitters, having Nolan Arenado in the heart of your lineup is important. He was the cleanup hitter today. And in the last 3 weeks, he's been back to closer to that, I would say. The OPS is just a tick under 800. So that's you. It'll hold for a day where you're giving days off, or giving the afternoon off to Alec Burleson and Lars Nootbaar. You'll take that. Is it going to be a normal thing where he's back in the cleanup spot? No, but it goes to show how important he is to this lineup. Like I said, because of the lack of right-handed hitting right now, and he's been holding his own as of late.
And I was hoping he was going to hit a home run against the Guardians to make it all 30 clubs that he has homered against in his career. He did not make that happen today, unfortunately. So hopefully next year he will get another shot, or maybe in the World Series would be a great time to do that. That's a time where that can happen. But certainly a great thing to hear that it is out of precautionary measures. We don't know if there's going to be any follow-up on that, but certainly hope that he is okay. And Adam Well says here, I was skeptical with no Burley and Gorman against lefties. Obviously, I was wrong. Well, I think all of us were skeptical about how the team would perform against the lefties. They did a great job, and hopefully they can continue that tomorrow against Andrew Heaney, who's 3-7 with a 4.48 ERA. The final point that I'm going to make here before we have to send it off and continue our Sunday afternoons, this is a Pirates team that's under a whole lot of scrutiny right now, not under any for things that they're doing right or wrong, but it seems like they're having a fire sale. You saw the quote the other day. Everybody's on the table except for Andrew McCutchen and Paul Skeens. McCutchen for the reason of he's already been elsewhere. They want him to retire, one of the franchise icons, and stay there. I think he wants to stay there. And Paul Skeens, of course, might be the best pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. But you've heard them talk about Mitch Keller. You've heard them talk about Key Brian Hayes. This is a team in a state of just flux. Who knows where they're going to be or what they're going to do? The Cardinals can take advantage of that starting at 5:40 Central Time tomorrow.
Sun Devil here commenting saying, I say let Sonny pitch at Pittsburgh. If he pitches 7 to 8 innings in his start, you'll have a very rested bullpen going into the Cubs series. It gives Ollie maximum flexibility in the 3 games. That's also a good point that we hadn't considered, Stefan. I'm going to rapid fire here through a couple of comments before we wrap. Justin commenting saying, not very good pitching by the Cardinals. Too many walks. Did we watch the same game? Did they shutout? 3 hits allowed? Is that what we saw, Stefan? I'm pretty sure that's the game we watched today. Listen, I'm not saying that that the 5 walks from Libby is ever a good thing, right? That is a little bit too high, and obviously that's not normal Libby. And this team overall, in large part this season, has been very good with not allowing free bases to guys and with the walks. So saying that this was not very good pitching today by the Cardinals is absolutely ridiculous. It was a shutout, and they allowed 3 hits. So that's all I'll say about that. Real American Intelligence asking legitimate question, who do you prefer at DH, Herrera or Gorman? Quickly, there's not one or the other, right? I mean, they both serve their purposes, and you could point out in a lot of different areas on the field. It's not as simple as this guy plays here every day, that guy plays there every day, because there's no way for them to fit everyone in if that's the mindset. Herrera, in large part, the season has been very good. Gorman, as of late, has been very good. So it's not as simple as that. Gorman's taking advantage of the opportunity right now. Let's hope that he continues to do that into this upcoming series against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Ethan, I thought you handled that perfectly. Gorman, Herrera, as long as they're hitting, I don't care who's in that DH spot, and the Cardinals have been doing just that. They average 7 runs a game against the Guardians. It's their first sweep of a Cleveland baseball team in franchise history, 7-0, their second shutout win of the series, their 10th shutout win of the year. Fantastic work from the Redbirds. For everyone here at STL Sports Central, all content is provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. This is the Cards Central Postgame Show. For Ethan Hannaford, I'm Stefan Caray. Signing off until tomorrow. Cardinals versus Pirates, 3-game set, trying to continue their good work.